Trick or treat. Did that work okay?
Yes,
It seemed weird here, but then again, a lot of things seem weird. Mr. Kennedy said that tonight's opening would bring tears to my eyes, and so much here brings tears to my eyes. Good evening, my friends, and welcome back, everybody. Happy Halloween for the 31st of October, 1996. Our old friend Dean Koontz, the author, is here tonight, along with William Peter Blatty, who gave us The Exorcist about 20 years ago, a book and a movie that truly entranced and in some cases terrified America. And of course, the magic of you on the toll-free highway all over North America, joining us here on Thursday night. What does it mean when you come to work, as I did today, and CBS has turned my parking place into a handicapped space? Are they trying to tell me something, do you think? And I came in from Mother Snyder's. I went down there, as I told you last night. The phone was broken. Somebody down there dropped the phone. And how often has this happened to you? She said, you know, Tom, the video cassette player is on the fritz. Could you take a look at it? So I put some tapes in there, and I couldn't make this thing work. And I figured, you know, I'll take it up here to CBS and have the technicians go over it and find out what's wrong. You know, this is, you know, part and parcel of having your own television show, is getting free repairs on your electronic equipment. And how often has this happened to you? You bring something into the technician, and it works absolutely perfectly. I mean, like, you know, your car isn't running right, you take it in, it's perfect. The mechanic is a magician, right? So anyway, Mom, if you're watching, the VCR is coming back tomorrow, and you don't have to worry about that. And then walking around town today, and I'm sure this has happened to you today, as you walk through your town, you notice all kinds of wonderful Halloween decorations. They have pumpkins out, as we have here tonight. And they have hobgoblins, and they have scarecrows, and they have skeletons, and all that stuff. I was walking on a street near my home about a week ago, and I happened upon a house, which I'll show you tonight. This is not a big picture show. Don't get scared. Here is a house in Beverly Hills, California, and you wonder where they started. You know, what was the first thing that is, was it the fence? Was it the roof? Was it, but somewhere way back when somebody said to somebody else, you know, let's make it look like a Hansel and Gretel house. And here it is from a different angle. And I took a little picture of the front yard. I mean, I've seen decor and I've seen painstaking, but look at this. I mean, if you can see, there's a little bird back there way in the back in the center, and there's all kinds of stuff in there. And I wonder who lives there. You would like to go up and knock on the door and say, are you people okay? But who wants to start a fight, right? And then let me tell you here about William Peter Blatty. When the Tomorrow Show went to New York for a brief week back in 1974, and I think I've told you that story, we got to New York and we had no guest booked at all. And there was a crash meeting on Sunday morning to find out what we were going to do on Monday night to open in New York. And the then producer or director of the show, my friend Joel Tater, mentioned that there was a big movie opening called The Exorcist. And like a light went on in the room and everybody went to the phones. We started booking people who had anything at all to do with The Exorcist. And we found a Jesuit priest out of Washington, D.C., a Father O'Malley, as I recall, who had been one of the tech advisors on The Exorcist when the picture was made. And he described, you know, how they researched it and how they staged it and how they set it and how they shot it. And I finally said, you know, Father O'Malley, why would you, a Jesuit priest, become involved in a picture like this? And he said, Tom, the devil made me do it. I had some news of Halloween events, but I'm going to pass those tonight.
Really?
Yes, I am.
I'm sorry.
Well, one of them was in Charlottesville, North Carolina, where a man was accused of beating up a horse. But since the horse was not seriously injured, why report the story? Anyway, Dean Koontz is here. Now I know why I have a handicapped parking place. It's from the neck up. Dean Koontz joins us tonight, William Peter Blatty of The Exorcist, and of course you with scary tales of hobgoblins and witches and things that go bump in the night. If for any chance there is a loss of cabin pressure during the flight, the oxygen mask will drop down. Simply put the mask over your nose and mouth and breathe normally. We'll be right back after these messages. My first guest tonight is our old friend Dean Koontz, who is not only a best-selling author, but also a very prolific one. He has written more than 60 books, about 30 of which are still in print, and now he adds to that list a children's book. It'll be in the stores for the holidays. It is called Santa's Twin. Dean, it's always a pleasure to see you, and thanks for joining us here at CBS tonight.
I always have fun.
After you became a hit, your books were popular, you were selling, and you and your wife had accumulated some money. You decided to move to Las Vegas and rent a house, and therein began an adventure through several houses, the likes of which few people have endured. Where did all this begin?
Well, my wife said, we don't need to live in winter weather. We can live anywhere we
Surely.
want. And, but we didn't know Las Vegas, so we thought, let's lease first. And we leased a house from a doctor. It was a rambling, wonderful house and had a pool, and the realtor took us out, and we walked out onto the pool apron, and there were all these desert tortoises. You know what these are like. Sure. They're just enormous,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
They're, and,
but coming from winter to see the pool and everything, I'm sure, wonderful. Huh?
I thought I had arrived.
Yeah.
It's a 50-foot pool, and there's giant tortoises. She says, now the tortoises will be removed when you lease the house. He had 9 of them. And so we walked over, and we're standing there looking at the pool, and it was all very, very gorgeous. And I felt something, and I looked down, and one of these giant tortoises had taken a dump on my shoe. And they produce almost as much as a horse.
Really?
And I should have taken this as an omen.
Yeah, right. That would be a good sign, wouldn't it?
But I didn't. So we said...
But you know what's amazing is we ended last night's show talking with a fella about, well, I'll tell you who it was. It was Ray Blunt Jr. Mm-hmm. We were talking about his picture where he had an elephant in the picture, and the elephant had done much the same as the tortoise. So we're just continuing right down the line. This is good.
It's theme week.
Yes, it is.
So I said, well, we'll take the house. We'll lease the house. And my wife flew back east to deal with the movers and everything, and I was there to get some basic things to get settled in the house.
Sure.
And this doctor turned into this enormous pest. He showed up every day, and he would follow me around the house. He didn't seem to have a lot of patience or something. And he would be drinking Coors, and they were in the 16-ounce cans of Coors. And he would start putting these things away as he followed me around the house. And he told me about that he'd had a very bitter divorce, and he said, at one point, now for God's sake, don't open the front door at night unless you know who it is, because my ex-wife has threatened to kill me, and she thinks I still live here. Yeah. And I still didn't think I should break the lease, but it kept evolving, and he kept getting stranger and stranger. And I found out he'd been thrown out of the medical associations in 2 states, and he was learning Spanish so he could go to Mexico when he got thrown out of Nevada. Mm-hmm. And one day, I'm trying to move him to his car.
So, I mean, this guy was there all the time.
All the time.
Not only did you have his house, but you had him all the time.
I think he was waiting for beds to be installed so he could take one of them. And he's telling me that he's put a steel plate in the front door so his wife can't shoot him through it. But we're standing there, and the door is cracked around all the inset plates, and I can see sunlight through it. So he's also telling me lies about that. So we go out to his car. I'm trying to maneuver him to his car. He keeps going back to it to get cans of Coors. He's had about 6 of them this morning.
Oh, man.
16-ounce cans. And he opens the car door and reaches into the back where he has a cooler, and he pulls one out. And as he's pulling the can out, he turns his wrist like this and sees his watch and says, "Oh, man, I'm late for an appendectomy."
How quick did you get out of that?
It was worse than that, because the wife never showed up, but after we moved in, this horrendous odor began to come up out of the floor. And it was a single-story slab house.
No basement or anything?
No, nothing. But we couldn't get rid of this odor, and we had experts in it. It turned out that this man had had 48 animals in the house, ranging from skunks, monkeys, dogs, a pig, and according to the neighbors, none of these were housebroken. So,
oh, man.
So we had to break our lease.
I would think so. I would think so. And of course, the turtle dump truly was an omen in this case, wasn't it?
Exactly,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
The turtle was trying to tell me something.
Yeah,
and
nobody cleans up around here, yeah.
So we got a second house. We broke our lease. We felt we had grounds, and we moved to another house. We found another house that a man rented to us for his parents, who lived in L.A., and he was, we were told, a lawyer who was living in the house on weekends, renting it out. We packed everything up, and we moved to this house. And
a nice house with the pool and everything. Yeah, the whole thing.
Big pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, bigger pool than the other house.
Good,
which was maybe
figure you're moving up, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And no turtles there.
No turtles at all.
Good.
No animals that we could see. Except it turned out the guy who rented it to us. But we started to move into this house. And as we got there, we were given the keys, we got there, and as we were unloading the first boxes, the Las Vegas police showed up with a man I'd never seen before and said, "What are you doing in this house?" And I said, "Well, I leased the house." And it turned out that he was the previous renter, and the real estate company had not checked his bona fides, so he was not the owner of the house. The real estate company was just amazing. They said they wouldn't give your money back. They said, "You have a valid lease. It's not signed by the man who owns the property."
The house is the only problem that we have right now. So now you can't go into that house.
We can't go into that house. So the third house we rent is from Rip Taylor.
Oh, the entertainer.
With the big mustache.
Oh, sure.
And everybody thinks this is where the story really gets weird, but actually this is where the story gets sort of normal. You know, Rip is actually a very normal
yes,
sort of
he
guy.
is. You know, behind his zaniness and his cleverness, he's a very normal guy, down-to-earth guy.
Did you know he was in Army intelligence when he was young?
No, I didn't.
Well, he told me that he was, and he was dumping a bag of confetti over my head when he told me, and hooting like a monkey.
I almost answered the question, no, but if you hum a few bars, I'll try and play it for you, but I...
Well, he was a wonderful landlord, and it would do wonderful things for you. Even after we'd left Vegas for years, he would. We went up there with my in-laws, who were my wife's stepmother and her father, and he knew we were coming up, so he got us tickets to see Liberace and to go backstage. And my stepmother, Liberace touched her, and her hair turned blue-gray.
Incidentally, was Liberace not one of the greatest entertainers you've ever seen perform in your life?
Absolutely. He was a knockout.
I mean, a lot of people to this day, when I tell them how great he was, they'll say, you mean a piano player is great? This man was unbelievable as an entertainer.
We were sitting, because of Rip, we were sitting right at the end of a ramp that came down, and you know how I used to dance with older women, and my mother-in-law was very shy, and he started coming down the ramp right toward my mother-in-law, and she was actually a fairly formidable woman too, and I was afraid she was going to punch him. So he came right down. She would never have gotten up to dance with him. He came right down, he walked right up to her, and he touched her hand, and his eyes glazed over, and he turned away and stopped singing to her and sung to another. And I thought that was the mark of a brilliant performer. He knew he was going to get beat up if he tried to dance with this lady.
So anyway, the Rip Taylor house turned out to be a joy, and nothing unusual happened. It was a perfectly normal house.
But we decided we didn't want to live in Las Vegas because it had not been a successful thing, so we moved to Southern California.
And did you buy a house, or did you continue to lease?
We rented before. We just thought we'd see what it was like here.
We are talking tonight with Dean Koontz. The new book is called Santa's Twin, which is a twist on Christmas. We'll get to that and more, along with you on the toll-free lines after these messages. With author Dean Koontz, here is John on the toll-free in Brooklyn. Hello.
How you doing, Tom?
I'm doing fine, thank you, John.
Happy Halloween.
Great week in New York last week. Giants won, Jets won, Yankees won.
Yankees won, world champions. Okay, I got one question for Dean.
Okay.
Okay, what inspired you to write the book, Santa's Twin?
I had some poetry in a book, another novel that I'd written. It was the beginning of this poem. And we got about 5,000 letters asking me to finish it. And I thought, well, it's kind of an interesting subject. People don't know the inside stuff. They don't know Santa has a twin, and his name is Bob, Bob Claus. And people don't know Santa's wife's name. I mean, have you ever heard it? Bernice. You know?
You're kidding. Mrs. Claus is named Bernice,
yeah.
really, yeah.
Yeah.
What about the elves?
But the elves, now they're basically clerical and managerial help. They don't actually build the toys. The toys are built by trolls who are kept in slave pens under the pole. That's the dark side of the Christmas.
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
stuff. But so I thought I'd write a little thing that touched upon these issues and things like why do they do it at the pole? I mean, why do they do it? They could do it in Jamaica, but Mrs. Claus has a lot of allergies. She's like a mucus machine anywhere there's pollen. So they have to live in the Arctic. There's no pollen.
Yeah.
There.
Now, what if little kids read this book? This could be unsettling to little kids, you know.
Well, I liked this when I was a little kid, and well, maybe you've made your point. I don't.
You know why the angel's on the top of the Christmas tree, don't you?
I'm afraid to ask.
John, do you know why the angel's on the top of the Christmas tree?
I have no idea.
Would you like to know, John?
Yes, I would.
Well, yes would be a good answer on your part. Santa Claus was having a very bad day, okay? He had a terrible cold. He had the sniffles. Mrs. Claus had a headache, and she was acting up. The elves were not working properly. The toys were not finished. It was raining cats and dogs and not snowing, so the sleigh couldn't fly. And the reindeer and Rudolph and all those, they were all ill and not able to fly. And the phone was ringing helter-skelter from all the people who wanted to talk to Santa. At that precise moment, the angel walked in and she says, Santa, where do you want me to put the tree? Thanks for calling, John.
Thank you, Tom.
The reviews are coming in. In the pre-production meeting which I attended today prior to your appearance here, the subject of poems came up, that there's a poem at the beginning of all of your books, or most of your books, and we're trying to think of the book from whence those poems come.
It was a book called The Book of Counted Sorrows.
Counted Sorrows.
Counted
The
Sorrows.
Book of Sorrows we got, but we could not get that other word.
Well, we get about 4,000 to 5,000 letters a year on this, asking where can I get this. A lot of them come from librarians who spent 3 months searching for it. It doesn't exist. I made it up. So librarians all over the country hate my guts. But it's sort of like when you were a kid and you did reports in school and you made up your footnotes.
Yes.
I'm doing it as an adult.
The Book of Counted Sorrows.
Book of sounds very important.
Oh, it's unbelievable,
Yes.
having counted a few along the way. In any event, your wife and yourself finally found a home here in Los Angeles, and at one point, to celebrate your 20th wedding anniversary, you decided to take a cruise. And not having been on a cruise, I wonder how that experience was for you.
Well, ours was unique. We left Los Angeles and we were on next to the highest deck, nothing above us but the bridge. We're in prime territory of the ship.
So how high up would that be about?
Well, when you walked out onto our deck and looked down at the ocean, it was 60 feet down.
Wow.
The ship stands up. It's a big ship,
Yeah,
so it stands up high.
yeah.
So we go through lifeboat drill. We do all that stuff first day. Second day, we're in the evening, we're in the lounge having a few, and we're watching lightning march across the ocean. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous.
Nothing like lightning at sea.
It's beautiful.
Or in the air.
And we go into the dining room, and in good weather, the waiters came out of a door over here and came straight to our table. And the sea starts getting rough, and the boat starts yawing. And yawing is onomatopoeia. The word is pronounced just like what it feels like, yawing.
Right.
And the ship is going like this. These waiters are suddenly not coming directly to our table. They're making these big parabolic arcs with their trays. And it's an Italian ship with an Italian crew, and they're very charming, and they'll never admit there's anything wrong.
Right, right.
So when you say, is this bad? No, he's a nothing. The waves into your bathtub is worth in this. And so okay, they know what they're talking about. And then the people at the next table, their plates slide in their lap.
Man.
And people are getting up sick, and they're blaming it on poltergeists. You know, it's just poltergeists throwing the plate in people's lap. People start screaming at the other end of the dining room.
Wow.
By the main course, just 10% of the people are left here. My wife and I had taken dancing lessons, and we were determined not to be...
We are going to Conga.
Yes.
Yes.
So we danced, and we went back to our room after being up till about 1 in the morning. And she went instantly to sleep, but I lay down. I'd done my first major contract in my career. So I'm laying in the bed, and the ship is creaking and popping and rolling, and I'm thinking,
really?
I'm going to die now. This is what God is...
You've seen the Poseidon Adventure of the
Yes,
Titanic.
Yes, and I'm Shelley Winters. So I'm laying there, and the ship is 4 in the morning. I can't get to sleep. And all of a sudden, there's a new noise. It's this colossal sloshing sound. This you don't want to hear. No? So I go out to the living area, the little living room, and there's not portals. There's these big windows, and they're draped. And I pulled the drapes back, and water washed over the window.
Oh, man.
So now we're nearly a submarine. You know, and I look at this, and I think, pull the drapes shut, go back to bed.
I'm going to die.
Lie down. I laid down in bed, and I said, God, please, don't kill me here. Let me see my little boy again. I want to see my little boy again. Please let me see my son again. I don't know what I'm thinking. I don't have a child. You know, I'm trying to con God.
the House of Counted Sorrows.
Yes.
I don't have a child.
So they close the decks on us, and for 4 to 5 days, we're in a hurricane, and we can't go out. You'll be swept off. We finally get out of the hurricane, and we get into Acapulco. And we're told, be a little careful, rent your van in Acapulco in the terminal. Don't go out in the street and rent it for the day, half day we had. So I rented in the terminal, did everything right. We got in the van, and we said, we want to go see the Princess Hotel, because we're interested in architecture, and it's beautiful, and it's somewhat outside of Acapulco.
And we're off the boat.
Yeah. And as we're going through towns, the driver is saying, he's not pointing out anything to us. He's saying, there's a damn bank. Government took the banks, gave us 50 cents on the dollar for our money. And he's really angry. And we go another block, there's another damn bank. And he points at the bank. And that's always pointing out, all the way through, banks, and how the government took half their money. And he's furious. And he's getting more and more furious as we get through Acapulco. We get way out here in the boonies where the Princess Hotel is. And as we're going up toward the rank, he points out the taxis. And he said, if you needed a taxi, that's where you'd find one. We said, well, wait a minute, we rented this van for the whole day. And he says, if you needed a taxi, that's where you... So we're not exactly stupid, but we did wait a few minutes after we toured the hotel and saw the architecture. We came back out, we got a taxi, and we got into it, and we're driving out of this long entrance road, and we got out of the entrance road and into this scrubland going back into Acapulco. And it's pretty lonely out there. And I happened to see that on the dashboard there's all this angel hair, and sitting in the angel hair are about 40 little skulls, and they're all hand painted.
All right, now let me interrupt you there. You're somewhere between Acapulco and or the Princess
Hell.
Hotel. Okay,
Yeah.
let me interrupt you there and do a break for a second. When we
Okay.
come back, you're in the cab, right? And on the dashboard is the angel hair with all the little painted
Hand-painted
skulls.
skulls.
Okay, and we could find out what happened to the van driver as well.
Yeah.
He split, didn't he?
Yes.
Okay. Dean Koontz is the guest, and Santa's Twin is a figment of his imagination. There is no such book. No, there really is. And we'll be right back after these messages. We are back with Dean Koontz, who is the author of Santa's Twin. We are somewhere between the Princess Hotel and the seaport in Mexico. The van has left, and you're in a cab, and on the dashboard are angel hair filled with little painted skulls.
Yeah. Intricately painted little skulls. Like you spend a lot of
Intricately
time
painted,
on
right,
each one. Like
right.
each one might represent something, like a little mark on the side of a fighter plane or something.
Gotcha.
And as we get out there in the loneliest stretch, he turns to look at us, slows the car and turns to look at us and says, "Does anyone know where you are?" Which is the scariest question I've ever been asked.
That is a scary question, yeah.
And I said, yes, the captain's a personal friend. He won't move the ship until
Till we
we
get there,
arrive.
right.
And that was sort of the culmination of that whole cruise. It wasn't much now that I had to have a commercial break in to lead
I got you, but I know what you mean. But let me ask you, how many cruises have you and the missus been on since?
Not one.
Not too many. Speaking of the missus, she played hard to get when you first met her, your wife, huh?
I asked her out 5 times. The first time she said, "I can't, I'm babysitting." The second time she said, "I can't, I'm working at the dry cleaner." I thought already she's got her story completely wrong. The third time she said, "I can't, I'm working in the movie theater." The fourth time she said, "I can't, I'm babysitting." But this was true. She came from a family where she was like I was. We weren't any of us very rich, and she was working at little
odd jobs to make money,
Yeah,
sure.
And she was making her own clothes and things like that. So the fifth date, she was president of her class every year. So I thought, I'll wait for the class dance, and I'll.
Yeah, she's got to go to that anyway.
She has to go to that. So I asked her to that, and she said, "No, I can't." No, I was a shy kid. I would just one rejection, you know, I'd go away and think about calling Jack Kevorkian if he had been around, and so she said, "No, I can't go." And I said, "You're class president. You got to go to this." She said, "Well, I got to sell tickets at the door. I got to sell refreshments, and I got to run the record player." And I said, "Fine, that's what we'll do," and that's what we
That'll
did.
be our date, right?
Yeah. Then we'd been dating a while, and I said, waited one night, got her to her door, taking her home. It was a big thing. "Would you wear my class ring?" And she took the class ring, and she looked at it, and she said, "For a week." So it's, and for the first 10 or 15 years we were married, she always said, when it came to anniversary, I said, "Well, here's to another 5. We'll just do it 1 year at a time."
That's very cute. In any event, the book will be out at Christmas time, or is it out now, Santa's Twin?
It's actually in stores, I think.
Okay. And, I haven't bothered to look, but is there anything from the what was it again? The House of Counted Horrors?
The Book of Counted Sorrows.
Yeah.
Haven't you gone to university, Tom? This is a classic piece of American.
As a matter of fact, there is a little something in the front there.
Yes.
In any event, it is always a joy to see you. If I don't see you before the holiday season, have a great one. And thank you for gracing our stage again tonight. It's always a pleasure to see you, sir.
Thank you for having
My
me.
pleasure. Dean Koontz is the guest, and the book is called, and now it's a spoof, okay?
Yes.
It's a spoof. It's make-believe. It's called Santa's Twin. Next, the author of The Exorcist and other fine books, William Peter Blatty, after these messages. We all know the story of The Exorcist. It's a story about a young girl possessed by the devil. It put a scare into Americans that few books and movies have. And although he has written both comedy and drama, William Peter Blatty's name will forever be linked to The Exorcist. By the way, his present book is about Hollywood, a subject that many people consider to be equally as scary as The Exorcist. It's called Demons 5, Exorcist Nothing. It's been a long time since I've seen you, my lord, 1977, 78,
Somewhere
back in New
there,
York.
maybe in the early 80s.
What I never asked you about was the reason that you began to write was that you won $5,000 on the Groucho Marx show.
10, but who's counting?
Okay, 10,000
Right,
on You Bet Your Life, huh?
On You Bet Your Life. I went on there to promote my first book, Which Way to Mecca Jack. And my God, we won the big jackpot, and I quit my job.
Yeah, and started writing. Do you by any chance remember the question that he asked you?
Yes, I got a softie. It was, of all the 7 wonders of the world, one of them is still extant and a tourist attraction today, and it was the pyramids.
Yeah, right. And the Great
John
Sphinx.
Goodell, who owned the show, you know, was going to kill himself. He never planned anyone should win the $10,000.
You know, a lot of nights on Wheel of Fortune, Merv is right there in the studio, and he puts the kibosh on the final puzzle. Yeah,
I could imagine.
Hey, well, let me ask you here, and I know you've done a lot of stuff besides The Exorcist, but let's face it, you are known for that. I mean, that was your
I
high
write one
heart.
little horror novel, right?
I beg your pardon?
I write one little horror novel.
Yeah,
They call
yeah.
me Blatty the comic writer
Yeah.
now.
Anyway, you were a student at Georgetown University, and you met Father Gallagher there, and you learned of exorcists while you were a student at that college.
Well, Father Gallagher was one of my theology teachers when I was a junior. And at that time, there was a case of possession going on in the area, and one of the exorcists was billeted on the campus. And of course, you know, the Jesuits talk in the refectory.
Sure.
And some of the stories came to us in Father Gallagher's class. And then the Washington Post carried it, and I thought, one day, this would be a wonderful affirmation of our faith. You know, just the fact that there are spiritual forces with personalities that survive the grave. And, but it was, as we know, 30 years before I got around to it.
And you eventually would correspond with a priest who had performed an exorcism?
He was, yeah, when the time came for me to write it, which was when comedy had dried up, and I couldn't get arrested, Tom. Nobody would hire me to write anything but a wild, farcical comedy, and they were out at the time, and I thought this is the time to do this, and I tracked him down through Father Gallagher, whom you mentioned, and he wanted to help me. I thought at the time I was going to write a nonfiction account of that particular case. He went to Archbishop Hannaberry in St. Louis, where a lot of the exorcism took place, and he could not get the family didn't want the confidentiality broken. Yes, they feared terrible trauma.
In fact, the priest implored you, please don't do this.
We corresponded for years. He begged me, please change it, make it a girl,
Oh,
change
so it was
the
a boy.
locale. It was a boy, yeah. I changed absolutely everything. Not that I based the novel on that case, it just stimulated my thinking.
After the book and the movie, did you hear from people who had been possessed or people who had been exorcised? Any feedback like that?
Oh, no, actually, I got a lot of letters from people who claimed to be possessed.
Sure.
But, you know, that's just hysteria.
And another little curiosity about this is that if it hadn't been for an appearance on the Dick Cavett show, the book was published and it was out there, but a lot of people didn't know about it.
It was being returned by the carload. I went on a book tour, and once I got off the plane at the bottom of the ramp, the Harper & Row sales rep said, well, May Company returned 100 copies today. Let's go have breakfast. Right? Yeah, well, thank you. I'm glad to hear that. And I was having lunch in Manhattan, getting ready to pack up and go back home. And I got a call from the publisher at the restaurant. Said, rush over to the Dick Cavett studio, wherever it was, I've forgotten. You got to be there within half an hour. And I raced over, and
but hadn't you been turned down before?
oh yeah, they had pre-interviewed me, and they said, very nice, but you know, Dick doesn't like this subject matter, please. But they were stuck. They had lost a guest. So I sat waiting for my 5 minutes at the end.
But they said to you, Dick doesn't like the subject matter.
Yeah. Oh,
See,
yeah.
here, the minute that they hear Tom doesn't like the subject matter, you're in. Bang. You're out here. So anyway, a guest drops out on Cabot.
Right. I get there. I'm waiting for my anchor spot, the 5 minutes. And,
Oh, you're going to be on at the end, right? The book spot. Yeah.
The first guest strikes out. One segment, he's gone. Next guest is a little tipsy.
Oh, drinking, yeah.
And he gets one segment, he's gone. Now Dick is sitting there with nobody.
He's got a half
over
an hour
my
of show
shoulder.
left for him.
He's got 40
minutes. Wow.
Right, and he was honest enough to say, Mr. Blatty, I haven't read your book. And I said, may I tell you about it? Oh, please. And about 2-3 weeks later, it went to the top of the list.
Yeah, you told the story and you touched a spot or a nerve with people.
Right, actually, there was a key question he asked me, well, Mr. Blatty, do you believe in the existence of Satan? And I gave some incredible answer. I wish to God I could remember what it was.
But it must
worked,
yeah,
right.
Yeah, but I did like your impersonation of Dick Cavett. That was very good. The one that you just did. Yeah. We are talking tonight with William Peter Blatty. The newest book is called Demons 5, Exorcist Nothing. It's a wonderful spoof on Hollywood and the strange goings-on in the movie business, which one newspaper called, you know, if you want to find out what really goes on in Hollywood, this little book is a great place to begin your excursion. We'll be right back with Mr. Blatty and your phone calls as time permits after these messages. William Peter Blatty is with us here in the studio, and Jane is calling from Toronto, Ontario. Hi, welcome to CBS, Jane.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm fine, thank you, and thank you for dialing us up tonight.
Okay, I wanted to ask Mr. Blatty.
Sure.
About 20 years ago, I saw him on a talk show talking about The Exorcist and about his life. And he mentioned how his grandmother, who had died, used to come and talk to him. And I was just wondering if that was, you know, sort of hype to do with The Exorcist, or this is really something that happened to him and he believes.
I think it's something I never said.
No, but let me ask you while
Did you have a Romanian grandmother?
No, ma'am. My parents were Lebanese.
The Romanian story that I know about, weren't you with a Ouija board?
Dracula.
Yeah, but weren't you with a Ouija board? So no, that was a Hungarian.
Hungarian,
yeah.
little Hungarian.
But let me ask him, Jane, while you're here, while you were on the tour for The Exorcist, a book dealer gave you a book which is called Electronic Communication with the Dead, and you did some experiments with tape recorders. Briefly, what did you do?
I did. Well, the Latvian scientist who wrote the book said that he had made some recordings on which there are anomalous sounds that he claimed were voices. Ultimately, he said they're the voices of the dead, and he could hear them on the playback of tape, very fleeting.
So you went...
Well, I was deeply mourning the death of my mother, and Tom, very frankly, when he gave me this book, I don't know why he gave it to me, but I read it and I said, well, why not? Let's give it a shot. And I started experimenting, and then I heard something. Then I got our Academy Award-winning sound man to bring me over to Magno Sound in Manhattan and stick me in a soundproof room and let's do some experiments and see what we hear. Well, they heard things, I heard things, and then on the very last day, it was the night before the rap party of The Exorcist, we got a relatively quite loud result that I could never understand at the time.
And what did you hear?
I couldn't understand it. It sounded like a stomach rumble. But 3 years later, when some kid was setting up my stereo system in my new house in Malibu, I said, would you listen to this? Tell me what you hear. Yeah, well, it's somebody talking. Well, what is he saying? I don't know. It's too slow. Too slow? Yeah. And he speeded it up with his fingers and listened with the earphones, and he said, yeah, it's a man saying, affirmative, can you hear me? And Tom, I gave that tape to Cyril Harris at Columbia University. He ran a spectrographic analysis on it and came back with the result that could not possibly be a human voice. And yet there it was. It didn't come out from some random radio reception because it's unintelligible unless you play it at double the speed.
Yeah. Anyway, Jane, William has done some experience with tape recorders and communication with the other
maybe
side.
there was a mix-up about
but
that.
I don't think, well, you never said anything about Romania.
No, no, no.
Well, I don't know what to say about it because I can remember it, but I could
Well,
have
we're kind of
remaining-
stuck here, Jane, you know what I mean?
I'm just saying I think he maybe was telling a lot of interesting stories. Maybe this at the time.
This is also true, also true.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
I hope you're not disappointed, Jane, and I hope you're not leaving angry.
No, I'm not. I could never be angry at you, Tom.
Well, thank you, Jane, I appreciate that.
Enjoy your show. I watch it every night.
You're very kind. Thank you. Have a good evening, okay?
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye now. Now, the book here, Demons 5, Exorcist Nothing.
Yes, the alternate title, of course, is You'll Never Do an Exorcism in This Town Again.
Right. Was there a time when it was tough for you to get back into the Hollywood writing loop?
Oh, yeah, it definitely is. I put out word recently that I'm
Available?
ready to go to work again, right? And this agent said, well, I have a report back. They'd like to see a sample of your work. I said,
Why don't
which
you
one do
send
they
them-
want? The one that won the Academy Award
Yeah,
or the
we'll
two
send
that
them.
won a Golden Globe?
Yeah.
You think it's easy, Tom?
It's not easy, William. Anyway, who's the lead character in here?
Well, he's a writer-director with whom I'm not that character, but I do identify with a lot of things he does. For example, he loves to bait studio executives. He goes to do story pitches. Well, for example, there's a studio head who constantly is sending out pro-abortion fundraising letters to him. And he pitches an idea for a film to be called Delayed Reaction.
Delayed Reaction.
Yeah, it's about a woman who shoots and kills her 40-year-old son, so the ACLU can prove in court that he was just a part of her body. The alternate title he had was He Was a Pain in the Ass Anyway. That's my man.
You mentioned that when you got the book on communicating with the dead, you just lost your mom, who you were very close to.
Yes.
And in reading about her, she was a very clever lady. Like, she had a little scam with landlords, didn't she?
Well, she had to. I mean, my father died early, and she was an immigrant, and she supported us by making and peddling quince jelly in the streets of New York.
Quince jelly, wow.
Yeah. And in those days, you know, the landlord came at 6, 7 in the morning, knocked on the door.
First of the month, where's the money?
And my mother would handle this as follows. You crooked landlord, I know all about you. And she'd slam the door. And while the landlord wondered what it was my mother knew about him, we'd get maybe 2, 3, maybe even 4 months rent. And then the marshals would heave us out, and we moved someplace else. I mean, we were the only nomadic tribe living in Brooklyn at the time, I believe.
And also, she did very well at B. Altman's, didn't she? The
At
department
B.
store.
Altman's, they invited her to open a charge account.
Please,
Tom,
Mrs.
Please,
White.
come. She said, okay, I won't hurt their feelings. And she'd get ads, come buy this, a special on that. She said, okay, if they want me to. And she'd do that pretty soon. She had a tab of $1,500, which, I mean...
And she probably didn't
was all
have
the money in the
1,500 bucks, huh?
Please, how about 1,500 cents?
Yeah.
And then we started getting first the polite requests, and then would come formal letters signed by George Lincoln, head of the legal department at B. Altman's. And do you know, Tom, years later, in conversation, she would frequently make reference to my lawyer, Mr. Lincoln. You know, we'll take care of this.
And what about your days at CBS? There was a time there when you worked with, what was it, the documentary unit?
Oh, well, it crossed my mind this evening, as a matter of fact, when we were talking about the tape-recorded voices. I was a writer-researcher for a documentary CBS mobile tape unit. And in the second half, which is why it came to mind, we always had what we call the kook spot. And I never dreamed that I would be the kook spot.
Well, here you are.
It's an interesting feeling.
Well, it's a joy to see you again after all these years.
It's wonderful seeing
Thank
you
you for
again,
visiting us,
Tom.
and I hope that Demons 5, Exorcist Nothing, or You'll Never Perform an Exorcism in This Town Again, whichever title you use, Bill, is very, very successful. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Tom.
The guest is William Peter Blatty. We will continue and tell you about tomorrow night's program after these messages. It's always... Here are the little news stories, and these things only happen on Halloween. Dateline, should I do the Walter Cronkite for you? No, no, no. Miami, Florida. A South Florida robbery suspect now faces charges for allegedly biting a police dog. Authorities say the dog snapped at Ricardo Culberson, who reacted by saying, here, doggy, and then bit the dog on the neck. See, that was news story number one. Then Charlottesville, Virginia. Police say an officer was trying to search two men he suspected were conducting a drug deal. One of them ran away, and the other punched the police horse in the head. But the horse was not seriously hurt. Of course, of course. My thanks to Dean Koontz for being with us tonight, and William Peter Blatty. Tomorrow night we welcome Gary Marshall, who is the writer, the producer, and director, and we welcome the actress Michelle Lee. Now, do us all a favor and stay with Tom and Steve after hours on the Late Late Radio Show. What does that mean?
That's 15.
15. That's about all I have. Me and Steve at 1-800-890-9990. Thank you all for watching and listening. Back tomorrow night, same time, same station.